welcome back to another episode of Business Unboxed with your host, Kelly. Now, you might hear some laughter in the background if you're listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, you might see that we have a special guest, and that is my brother, actually, Corey, who, if you were listening to last season, you might have heard me hint at the thought of a co-host or a surprise for this season of the podcast. And this is essentially the surprise. So we're going to have Corey on every episode for this season, and he is going to be our co-host, so you can get his knowledge and we can pretty much have a more conversational kind of platform as opposed to me just talking to you guys by myself. So as I said, Corey's my brother, so I'm going to let him do a little bit of an introduction of himself. And if you also have listened to my episodes from the last couple of years, you might have heard me mention Phoenix Rogue, or even if you've been here for even longer, you might have even listened to the brand episode we did with Corey, where I interviewed Corey back then. So anywho, Corey, take it away and let us know your journey.
Thanks. So, hey team. My name's Corey, live in New Zealand, Christchurch, New Zealand. Had a interest in business ever since I can remember, really, from a pretty young age. Moved from small town to Christchurch when I left high school and studied design from there. And then got my first design job, spent about 6 years there, left, started my own business, and have recently just merged with another big business. So I've got a couple of businesses now in two different areas. One that focuses on e-commerce. So we work with e-commerce businesses, helping with develop their brands, develop their packaging, websites. Pretty much we specialize in the e-commerce product-based business space. And the other one is more of a business efficiency consultancy, where I work with Notion as my primary software and help businesses kind of streamline their processes and cut costs. That's a bit of a snapshot of me. There'll be further information in further episodes.
Nice. You would have heard Corey say that they're merging with somebody else, and he's talked about branding, and Corey's worked with me on branding, and we've actually had a business together in the past as well, that we no longer have, but it was a bit of a journey and a bit of a learning platform for both of us. And so if you have been listening to the podcast for a wee while, you'll know that I come from more of an accounting background, and you guys would have heard little bits and pieces of me and how I got to where I am and what I do today. But because we're doing introductions today, I might as well do a fuller introduction of myself as well for those who are new or those who have been listening for a while and just don't know my full story. So obviously, like Corey, I grew up in a small town because obviously we're brother and sister. He's my older brother. And then I moved to Christchurch after doing some different diplomas and certificates, trying to really work out what I wanted to do. I did do some accounting at high school, but wasn't fully sold on it. And then I'd done some business and accounting stuff. And then when I moved to Christchurch and got my full-time job, I want to say it must have been about 8 years ago now. I obviously got into an admin role, and then it kind of grew from there. So as you guys know, I used to be a management accountant. So I've kind of progressed from like an admin office junior role up to doing different finance roles and then management accounting. Did my CA, which you guys know that I passed last year. So that's really exciting. And so now you guys know that I am a finance systems accountant, and I've been doing that for the last few months, and I'm also a qualified chartered accountant. So for you guys mainly overseas, it's the equivalent to a CPA. So a lot of you guys over in like America and that side tend to kind of do like CPA, or you might even do like CFA, I think. But over in this kind of side, CAs are a wee bit more common than the CPA, but it's pretty much like the equivalent. So that's kind of my journey. So I'm still an employee, but we've had businesses in the past, and I'm interested in going forward, obviously not being an employee forever, and hopefully starting my own business again. And I've been planning that, as you guys would have heard if you've been listening for a while. I've been talking about creating a new business for a wee bit, and I'm still in the planning phase of that, and hope to kind of in the next couple of years really branch into that. Obviously with CA I have a little bit more rules and regulations about what I can do, so we're slowly getting there. And so that's kind of my story. And so for this first episode, we kind of wanted to just touch on, obviously, who we are both as people, so you get to know us a little bit more, and then how we're setting up for this year. Maybe a couple of our goals and what we do to kind of set ourselves up for the year to be successful. So whether that's kind of business-wise, personal-wise, career-wise, and then maybe you guys can share with us what you're doing as well. You can take away our tips. So personally for me, I used to use Asana for my goals, and I kind of figured that it wasn't really giving me everything I wanted in one platform. So because Corey has mentioned Notion, and he's very good with Notion, and I have played around in it before but didn't really know what I was doing, I've tried to go back to it this year. I'm still not 100% sold on it because I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to get everything kind of plugged in there. I like the new calendar feature, Corey. I've been using that to plug in some things. So one of my goals this year was actually to go to 12 Pilates classes. So I'm trying to work on the wellness side of my life at the moment, because you guys know that getting my new role a few months ago was my dream role. And so I've kind of got that career side sorted a little bit. I'm doing some business planning for some other things. And so my wellness side is the thing I want to focus on. And so one of that thing was going to Pilates at least once a month. And so the calendar feature in Notion was really helpful because I could set up a task that I can schedule in when that's going to be, and it pops up and reminds me that I need to book it and that kind of thing. So that's kind of how I've been setting up my year. I also have a spreadsheet that I have my budget in, but Notion is predominantly where I'm trying to do like my planning and scheduling and that kind of thing. And so that's kind of me setting up for my year. How about you, Corey? How are you managing that?
My goals.
Yeah, or just setting yourself up for like a successful year in business, just any of that.
Usually what I do every year, I usually kind of set up my calendar. So I'm quite strict with my time. So I tend to book out slots in my calendar every single week for things that are reoccurring. So I have a set time for my break and my lunch and my gym every day. I have a set time for, now that I've got a couple of businesses and I'm also doing some extra things outside of that for other businesses, I have to really be careful that I have enough time to do everything. So I book out certain times for certain businesses to do certain things, like, reconciling, invoicing, admin stuff for one business, design work for another. So I kind of plan my calendar out for the year, or what I've decided to do this year is just plan it out for 6 months and then re-look at it in 6 months' time, because I often find things change during the year and then I have to change my whole calendar. At the moment we have a puppy, so I've got to kind of balance my time looking after her during the day and work. So what I'm finding now is that I've got a wee bit of time in the morning where I can focus and let her kind of sleep, and then in the afternoon I have to look after her. So that means that now for the next few months, I'll have to work night times and weekends to make up for that. So I think the important thing for me is just allocating time in the calendar. So I use the whole time blocking thing. That works for me. And then just making sure you've got some sort of system, whether it's a pen and paper or whether it's some tool like Notion or Asana, that you can actually write down your tasks so you can visually see all the things that need to be done and how often, and then slot those into your calendar to make sure they get done.
Yeah, that's what I've kind of done. So this year, another thing that I've changed up how I'm managing my time work-wise. So where I used to work, we did have Asana to do, like, manage all our tasks, but where I currently work, we don't have any kind of platform for that. So because it was the last few months of the year when I started, I kind of just left it, and I just use, like, I had a notebook that I just used to write this big long list in. But obviously I couldn't put like, okay, this is what I need to work on today or whatever. There was in Outlook, you have that tick thing that I use just for like those really boring repetitive tasks that I don't want to write down every day. But I've actually gone back to having a diary, and so I've been using that this year so far, so that I have a big long list of when I have a meeting with my manager at the start of each week, gives me all my tasks that I need to do. I write those all down on my notebook, And then what I do is each day I look at my notebook, I look at what I need to do, I look at obviously the emails that are coming in, and I figure out what I need to prioritize from that kind of ad hoc stuff into my diary for each day and what I can prioritize for that day. And so normally there's just only 2 or 3 things, like bigger projects that I work on each day, and that kind of manages how I get through my big long list, which has been quite handy. But it has been a little bit of a swap, because I'm used to everything being digital, where I used to work, to now going back to like a manual writing diary. So it is a little bit of a swap, but I'm slowly getting used to it. But yeah, I think it's going to be really good to just have like that paper record of what I need to work on for the day, what I need to be reminded of. So I'm kind of liking that at the moment.
Cool.
Also, you guys heard Corey just mention that he has a puppy. If you want to follow the puppy's journey, we do have a TikTok for the puppy called Little Luna Diaries on TikTok. So if you want to go over and see the puppy, then feel free to go over and follow that TikTok account, because you will see some really cute footage. It's the most adorable little puppy, and her name's Luna, and she's a Shih Tzu. So if you want to go and see the puppy, then feel free to go over there and watch her over there on that TikTok account. Well, that's pretty much us for this introductory episode, I think. So the platform of this season, because you guys know this is going to be a little bit different to my normal ones now that we have a co-host. So this will be our first episode, and you'll be seeing this in February. Like I promised you guys, I normally have December and January always off. But then what we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of a break, and we're going to make sure that we plan some really good content for you guys, so that when we come into the full season of this episode, full season of the podcast, that we have some really good stuff planned for you guys, and you're going to get a lot of value out of what we're talking about. So in order for us to do that, we need some time to plan and record some stuff that's going to be really beneficial to you guys. So the full season won't start until the start of April. So feel free, if you want to follow us for, what are we going to talk about, like entrepreneurship stuff, my career stuff. So if you're interested in being an accountant, you'll probably hear some tips of things and me talk about CA. If you're a graphic designer or you want to work on your brand, we'll probably do a number of episodes where we talk about branding and how important that is. We'll probably talk about how to make that transition from employee to business owner, because Corey's done it and I plan to do that in the next few years of my life. So that'll probably be some topics that we talk about. So pretty much anything business, entrepreneurship, managing that work-life balance type thing is going to be all the types of topics that we talk about together. So if that sounds like a bit of you, then feel free to subscribe, and you'll start seeing some regular weekly content. So if you guys who do used to watch me and follow me, you knew that the podcast was fortnightly, but we're going to try and get an episode out weekly for you guys, which is why we need that little bit of time to do some planning and some work together. So follow, whether that's on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I think we're on a few other podcasting platforms. So wherever you're listening to this or watching this, then subscribe or follow, so that you can start getting into the content when we start posting every week in April. So is there anything else you'd like to say, Corey, for this episode before we finish up?
I don't think so. There's a lot of stuff to cover this year, so a lot of really good chunky episodes and information. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you guys enjoyed this episode and getting to know us a little bit more. My microphone just fell over. Sorry for that. And I guess we'll see you guys again in April. So stay tuned, and we'll see you then.